Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. This time we're doing a new player guide for the Party Finder and Duty Finder. A lot of people have asked me if I would do some new player guides, so here we are. So as a new player to the game, you might eventually unlock dungeons and things like that, things you will find in the Duty Finder. This is the first thing that I want to show you. The Duty Finder is usually accessible on PC by pressing U, or of course you can click on this exclamation mark here and click on Duty Finder. The Duty Finder is a way of finding random people to fill a group up. You can of course have a pre-made, you can invite your friends to a party and then queue for something, and that will work just fine as well. But this, if you are solo, will be the way that you queue for something. For example, if I wanted to do Satasha, I would tick the box and I would press join. It's as simple as that, and depending on what role I am, a DPS, a tank or a healer, your queue times may differ. Basically, they will vary rapidly depending on the amount of people playing at the time and who's playing what role. What you might not know about the Duty Finder then is that obviously you want to do your duty roulettes as a new player, as many of these as possible if you've unlocked them. They have basically completion once per day. It doesn't show here because I'm already level 80, but sometimes you'll get bonuses of experience. The most important ones personally I would recommend for leveling include the leveling roulette, the trial roulette. Your main scenario can give you about a level a day regardless. I know it probably means doing lots and lots of Castrum Meriadianum or Praetorium, which is probably what will pop since it's the most popular, since people are working through the game themselves. But it is definitely worthwhile. It's worth taking that hour. It's a massive chunk of XP. We have Guild Hess, which we can ignore. Alliance raids are really good, and I would skip normal raids. You can also do frontline PvP if you want as well. Get yourself a daily amount of PvP experience, as well as Wolf Marks, as well as Tomes if you are max level. The Tomes will actually be listed as a reward once you're max level. You might not see these, so don't worry about those at this point. But yes, roulettes, very important once per day for experience gain, if you want to do that. But if you're following your main storyline quests anyway as a new player, you probably don't need these at all, because it gives you more experience than you would ever need. So now we know how to queue into something that we need. We've got drop downs here for each expansion. The most current expansion is always on number 2 of something. So these are dungeons, this is number 2. Eventually what will happen is this will change to Endwalker, and then Shadowbringers will move into here as another drop down on the previous tab on number 1. This applies for trials as well, as you can see here, and as well for raids. PvP is accessible through here as well. The Gold Saucer, Triple Triad, Battle Hall, Lord of Verminion, Chocobo races and all that stuff, you can queue through this. You have to unlock all of this though as you go. Same with Guild Hess. So that's pretty much how the Duty Finder works in a basic. This is basically a tool for finding random people to queue with. Basically, let's put it that way. If you see at the top left of the screen of this Duty Finder, you'll find a cog. If you click this cog, you'll see a bunch of options. The first option then, let's explain this, join party in progress. Say for instance, you don't want to do the entirety of a dungeon, you just want to go in there for the last boss, you just want the completion of it. Maybe you've done that dungeon before, but you need to clear it again, maybe you want to get something from it. I always leave this ticked personally, because this is basically a fast track system. Sometimes this will work where if you've got this ticked and you queue up, for example, for Satasha, let's use Satasha as another example. Okay, let's use Satasha as an example. If we queue in like this, there is a chance it might pop and it will say 11 minutes elapsed or something like that. That could be because they've lost a healer or a tank or a DPS, or maybe they had a bit of drama or something. 9 times out of 10, those are really good runs to join, because it means that I will get the completion of my dungeon done quickly. You know, more times than often, I've joined in a party in progress and been on the last boss just because the healer DC'd and was gone for half an hour, and I got my clear really, really quickly of whatever content it was I was doing, even in current expansion. So that is a really good one to tick, in my opinion. The Undersized Party, basically, I'm level 80 right now. If I was to normally queue into Satasha, I would be scaled down to level 15, right? If I was to queue for Halatali, I'd be scaled down to level 20. If we don't want to be scaled down and we want to just blow something to pieces, we can tick this box, okay? And press confirm. Now if I queue into this, I will be level 80. Now, there are some restrictions for that. Obviously, you're not able to do unsynced versions of your roulettes. If you see a padlock next to it, you need to change this back. Basically, that's what that means. So there are some things you just simply can't unsync. Current content in Shadowbringers, for example, and it will be the same with Endwalker when that comes out, will not be unsyncable. However, the current content that is current will be made into another drop-down and will be unsyncable in the future when the next expansion comes out, if that makes sense. PvP can't be unsynced, obviously, and neither can chocobo races or anything like that. So that's how you access the unsync feature. So a lot of people will say, I play World of Warcraft, Meoni, how do I do this dungeon but still be max level, or whatever level I am, level 50 or something? That's how you do it, this little cog in the top left, and you'd be surprised how many people don't know about that. Another feature here is if you're a blue mage, for example, this might interest you, you can actually stay level synced. So you can actually synchronize. This is useful for a blue mage. Say, for instance, you're doing level 70 content and you want to be in there synced but undersized. You can tick that button as well. That's basically what that's useful for. Next up then, we have minimum item level. You can actually tick this if you want to have a synchronized version of a fight. Basically how it was. A lot of people have this ticked if they want a challenge. For example, you might see people do a synchronized run of Shinryu Extreme with minimum item level and silenced echo, right? So what that would mean is minimum item level means that it will scale you down to the duty's minimum requirement. Of course, this means it's actively, hindering your character, making it weaker, but some people want to feel what it was like when the content first came out, with the item level that you would have probably had combating that instance. So that's a nice feature. Same with silence echo. As the expansions go by, they do add a thing called Echo, which basically is a way of nerfing the content as a buff that gives you up to 15% in some cases of Echo. And this is basically 15% of stats increase. That's healing done, damage done, health, all that sort of stuff. That's the sort of things that the game does over time. So if we want to silence that and have a minimum item level silenced echo run, this is the hardest possible run you could have, for example, of Shinryu Extreme, if we were to queue for that now, right? Because it would be the item level of what it would be at the time, and we wouldn't get any buffs from the game itself. Okay? That's what those do. Eventually you'll unlock Explorer mode. This is currently only available for Shadowbringers, and it will be available... Oh no, sorry, it is available for Stormblood as well. Currently Dungeons as well as Endwalker. If you tick this and then queue for something, again, there are restrictions to that. Like I say, Shadowbringers and Stormblood, the level 70 stuff onwards. If we were to queue in for here, this is like a photo mode. Basically, you have the ability to just walk through there, spam limit breaks for G-posing, all that sort of stuff. It's basically, let's go explore the content without any monsters in it, take lots of pictures, and look at glamour, which is what I personally like to do myself. If I'm taking a picture for a thumbnail, for a video, I'll go into like one of these places, do like a limit break or something dressed in a certain outfit, and there's no monsters in there, and it doesn't take me forever. So that's basically what that does. And then we've got limited leveling roulette. This basically limits the roulette to duties of an appropriate difficulty, okay? So what this will do, well, let's just read it. The duty chosen will be within 8 levels of your lowest level party member. For example, should the lowest character in the party be 70, a duty ranging from 63 to 70 will be chosen. So that's a way of actually making it, basically synchronized to what you want to do with the players there. We also have loot rules as well. You have your normal greed only and loot master. It's very unlikely you'll see loot master in this game unless someone is trying to trick you. Greed only, I mean, is a good option where you can only greed on things, but normal is the good way. Need greed, basically. If you need it, you need it. If you greed it, you greed it. That's what we say. This is probably one of the more important bits at the bottom, though. Language. Now, this dictates who you're queued with. If we, for example, left it as just English, because that's my native client, that's my native language, then I would only ever get grouped up with English-speaking players, right? Now, that's fine, But say, for instance, you're waiting 5 hours as a DPS, you might want to increase that. Now, me personally, I don't see many people communicate in dungeons anyway, and some things can go beyond that sort of lack of communication. So I tick the Japan, the German, and the French language options, because this actually increases the pool of players that I can queue with. So it actually makes the whole time I'm waiting for a run of, let's say, Mount Gorg to be much less as a DPS. So that is a definite top tip there, is to tick those. But if you do only want to ever see people who English speak, then you might want to tick this button. If you're on an American server, this is probably going to be a no-brainer though, because most people speak English, right? In the grand scheme of things. But you won't really need to communicate in a normal dungeon run, will you? And this is incredibly useful for roulettes as well. This will put you into a completely different pool of people. It's really, really useful. So that's the duty finder in a nutshell. You also have, you see at the top here, regular duty and high end. You can tick the high end one. This shows you all of the stuff you can queue for. That's current content, the hardest content, okay? So you can actually be matched with people who are looking for duty completion, or a practice group, or first phase, or final phase, or duty complete or incomplete. For trials, ultimate raids, of course, if you wanted to do that. And of course, Eden's Promise stuff, which is the current hardest content in the game, basically. So there we go. That's basically the duty finder. Now, where that differs is with the party finder. Now, the party finder can be accessed under this, like, it looks like a flag with 3 lines on it, or of course you can use a shortcut for this. The party finder is essentially a way of finding pre-mades. That's what you want to, what you need to know, basically. So this will be based on your data center. So I'm playing on Ragnarok server, as you can see in the top right here, but I'm on the Chaos data center, which is a link of all of those servers together. That's how the server infrastructure works. So these are duties that people are trying to run, parties that they've created, recruiting people on my data center, which is quite useful. So you can see there's a data center, world, and private. Private will be stuff on my current world. World will be stuff on my current world, and data center is accessible to everybody on my data center. This is the all tab. We've got duty roulette. So for instance, if you want a pre-made and you don't want to go through your roulette necessarily on your own, that's how you can find that. Although people do unfortunately list sales of instances in that one for some reason. It's very unfortunate. For example, we have dungeon runs. This person's going for their blue mage log, which means they're running with blue mages in particular. So people can basically create groups for that. Since blue mage is a very special job that we can't really talk about in this sort of time that we have today on this video, but it can't queue ordinarily. It has to use something like this. Guild Hess, trials. So this is all your normal modes and extremes and hard modes of all of the stuff. Some people try to create runs to get dragon mounts, for example. Cinderdrift Extreme, that's another trial that's on extreme for bird mounts and things like that, sort of mount runs. We got a raid section as well for the raids, such as Alexander here for the light farm. That means that they're working on one of their weapons, basically, probably their Heavensward relic. And then you've got high-end duties. So these are people trying to make a pre-made for the current hardest content in the game. So we've got Eden's Promise, Umbra Savage. They're going for the kill. And people have created a group here. And you would simply click on this and you would press Join Party. You can also send a message to that player if you wish to. Directly, the person who's created a group, as simply as clicking that. And then you talk to them there, basically. But that's how that works. And you can see the group comp as well of what they've got by highlighting over the individual icons. So they've got a Dark Knight, for example, a ninja, then they're needing another tank. They've got an astrologian, that they could go with a white mage, a scholar, for example. Yeah, that sort of thing. That's how you would break that down. Then we have PvP. Some people try to make groups for things, pre-made PvP groups. That's where you'll find that. Quest battles, not many people really use that. It's for battles in quests, funnily enough. Fate, some people like to do fate farms, especially when there's fate events, such as the Yokai Watch crossover event involved doing lots of fates together. People did them as a group here. Treasure hunt is treasure maps, so you can get these things called treasure maps in the game from gathering and mining, and also from your retainers as well. and you can go and do those together. Usually people who create these groups say bring your own map, and then you go through all those maps, and sometimes you get dungeons and stuff. It's quite fun, lots of loot. The hunt is basically for hunt groups. Not many people use this, but when they do, it's for like A ranks and stuff like that. Gathering forays is usually for diadem. Not many people are going to be using that because you don't need to queue in as a group. Deep dungeons are your heaven on high and your palace of the dead, your leveling areas, or if you want to do it for completion, pre-mades go up there to go to the maximum floors of those instances. We also have adventuring forays, which is stuff like Eureka, or Delabrum Regine, or Bosgian Southern Front, or Zadnor groups. That's where those would be if it's like a speed run, for example, of DR, which happens quite a bit, all endgame activities. Then we have the other section, which is sort of like your miscellaneous, where people talk complete crap, or they're trying to sell you, for example, full high quality 510 crafted Exarchic stuff. That's how that works. Basically like a trade platform or a bit of anything really. But that's how that works. If you wanted to make your own group, you can simply press recruit members up here, which brings up this menu. You can say, for instance, create a group for a normal, an alliance raid, or a custom match, right? So that's PvP, that's alliance raid, sort of large scale raids, and that's normal. So if I wanted to make a group for a normal mode, I would choose what type of dungeon that is. So let's say I want to do a raid, okay? No, actually, let's say I wanted to do a trial. Let's say I wanted to do, let's see, let's find something basic. Let's say I wanted to do the Howling Eye on Extreme mode, right? So this is for Garuda on Extreme. I can choose I want to complete that because I've never completed it before, let's say. And then we'll put a comment, new player seeking to clear content. Yeah, or something like that, or whatever you want to put. Then you can choose what you want in your party. You can actually click on these to change. For example, it might be overkill to take two tanks to this. You might only need one tank, right? You can blow through this, especially if you're doing unsynced. You probably don't even need healers. You can click on that and click away the healers. If you make a mistake, you can press the reset button and it will send it back to how it was before. And that's how you would do it. You'd just create your run of whatever it is. Let's say, I don't know, that, blah, 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 blah. And then you would press recruit members. As soon as you press recruit members, this puts up a party, as you can see. And you'll see that I've basically created a group for Katana Revel, so that'll be under dungeons. And you'll see there's my group, and people will be able to join that. I'm going to end this though, because I don't want people to join that immediately. Because I'm not really interested in doing that. For the alliance thing, it's basically exactly the same thing. Only when people join your party, they'll be able to join, they'll be able to choose which alliance they join. Okay, you can also choose which alliance you're in as well as the party leader, and it changes accordingly. And of course you can do all the same things, but when they come to join this, it'll ask them if they want to be in alliance A, B, or C. And this is a way that you can actually unsynchronize a lot of old content. For example, Void Ark is previous content, very old content now. Say for instance I need Dominion from this, I could create a group with my friends in alliance, make a party finder, and get my two other friends to join Alliance B and Alliance C, me to be in Alliance A, and with those 3 people I could queue into a 24-man unsynced at level 80 and clear it and get the minion I need. That's a great way of farming content, honestly. So that's what I would suggest to you. We can also do this for adventuring forays as well. Here's your Delabrum Regine, you can make your savage group for that, or normal mode of course. And there we go, and same with the PvP stuff as well. And that's how that works. So the difference then, once again, Duty Finder, this is how you queue into content with you or your friends in a group, or this is a way of you queuing in solo, or if your party has an empty spot or spots, then this will fill it up with random people. Basically, that's how you queue for content. If you're looking for a complete pre-made and you want to join one that someone's creating, you use the party finder, and then that way you can browse through all of the different things and see if anyone's actually creating something. If they're not currently running something that you want to run, you can recruit yourself and create yourself a little group, and that way you'll find that people will come and help you 9 times out of 10. For example, this person is trying to do a synchronized run of Final Coil of Bahamut Turn 2. So that's a little bit more tricky. It's not an unsynced run, so you'll be synced down. So if you want a good experience of that fight, there you go. For example, that's something that somebody wants to do at the moment. But that's pretty much all I have for this first particular episode. I know that was 20 minutes long, but sometimes you have to talk about things and go through them properly as if you were in the room with the person, because that's a lot easier than just going through a checklist of stuff. If you have any questions as a new player, please leave them in the comment section below and we'll be sure to try and get back to you as soon as possible. If you're a veteran, I know these types of videos aren't the best for someone like yourself to watch, but hopefully if I've missed anything out, you can add that in the comment section again for this discussion on party finders and duty finders. Right, until the next one, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye. Oh, and by the way, this will get added into its entire own playlist, and that'll be featured on the front page of my YouTube once I have more than one video for it. So there we go. Thank you for the suggestion, by the way, and hopefully this was helpful. Bye bye.